Sorry, customer service. Okay, so which is also, as I said before, it's known as your customer or your online reputation management. All right, so social media platforms, in my opinion, they're some of the best ways of engaging with your customers. I know that they're very frequently used. I know myself, if I can't get hold of, I'd far sooner message someone, send a tweet, then make a phone call if something isn't working. And I actually did that. CareerMaster isn't customer service what community managers do. It is to a certain extent. So community managers, yeah, they would do that, but they would also curate and manage the content. Or if you're a full-on community manager, then your social media would be an element of that. Okay, so they would have a whole portfolio of different things that they would use. It is pretty important. Okay, so why do we use social media for customer service, right? So basically, the communication is immediate. You are far more likely to get a response from a company if you do tweet them, if you mention them, if you bring it into the spotlight, if you bring the issue to the attention of the public, really. Okay, so it's in our best interest as companies, as businesses, as business owners, to respond to those as soon as possible and take them offline as quickly as possible. Okay, it's a more personal brand experience. Okay, it's humanized. It humanizes your brand. So that basically means that what I'm going to say here as well is a good practice when you are managing a community online, when you're managing a Facebook page or Twitter or something. Best practice is to use a name at the end. Use your own name. Sign off your tweet, sign off your post with your own name, so that they know that it's not just a company responding, but it's an individual at that company. Okay, so it allows for human engagement with a brand, which is it was unheard of before now. So then there is your conversation being completely transparent. So because it's been brought into the public eye, everything needs to be transparent. You do something shady, people find out very, very quickly. The internet is a dark and terrible place for anyone that tries to get away with murder. Because basically, if you try to shut someone down as a community manager or something like that, if you try to shut something down, you delete something that someone has said on social channel, there are plenty of other platforms with a lot of people on them, even on that same channel, where they can rant and destroy your brand. Okay, so that's something that I would not suggest doing. By the way, don't delete comments ever. It encourages more brand mentions. So that basically means, guys, that it spreads the word about your company. So if you have a presence online, people are more likely to use your handle. They're more likely to use a hashtag related to you. And then you can track that and you can see the growth of your brand. You know, in older times, it was very difficult for us with traditional marketing to understand the stretch of brand awareness. Now, with us being able to track every single little comment, every single time our company or our brand is mentioned online, it gives us a good idea of how much we're being spoken about and what sentiment we're being spoken about in. All right. Customer service on social is easy to follow up as well. So very easy to send a direct message to someone. Did you get that sorted? To escalate it as well. I know that there are certain platforms you can take. Say someone makes a complaint on a social channel, you can take it offline and escalate it accordingly. It's very, very easy to do that, and to check back with them as well, because it's a closed channel. All right. So, guys, I've got a couple of examples for you now. I've got a couple of case studies just to, I suppose, to display exactly what you should do and display what you shouldn't do. There's no better way to understand this than with examples. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So first company we're going to talk about, and this is a big one, is Applebee's. Okay. Does anyone know of any bad rap or any bad press that Applebee's might have had in the past? Would anyone have a clue about what what story I'm talking about. Because we hear about these all the time. I know Byron mentioned a couple of bad behaviors in a previous lesson about a brand, and we're going to look at that in a little bit, but they almost become infamous online. So, has anyone heard of Applebee's and what they've done? Angie, that is very, very close. Okay, well, that's fine if you don't know, because I'm about to explain it to you, okay? So Applebee's basically came under fire, okay, because they fired a waitress for posting a negative customer comment. So a customer came into Applebee's. She was actually a pastor in her local area, and she, in the States, for those of you not from America, there's a typical 18% tip on top of, I think it's not 18. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's definitely most service workers, like waitresses and bartenders and all of that, they don't really get paid very much, but they make up for it with tips. Okay, that's where their income comes from. Fatima says it's 8%. Okay, well, in this case, this particular case is 18% in this particular restaurant. All right, so what happened was that this pastor goes into the restaurant. This girl was one of the females that were working there was serving her, and when it came time to pay the bill, there was nothing particularly wrong with the service. It all went down well. She goes and picks up, they've all left, she goes and picks up the slip, and she sees this. Okay, so the full amount of the bill was $34.93, and it says 18% tip, and she puts down 18%. You know, why do you get 18%? I give God 10%. I think that is. I give God 10%. Why do you get 18? So she leaves no tip. This girl's left without cash to cover her. And so that wasn't the end of it. What happened was a co-worker of this girl, she posted it on social media, right? So Applebee's found out. They basically fired the girl who posted it, all right? And then it kind of went a little bit viral. So what happened then, okay, was that people started commenting on Applebee's page and saying that it was you know, disgusting the way that they treated this girl. It was unfair. How could you? The behavior of the person, of the patron, was terrible anyway, and so and so and so. There were a lot of comments coming in about it. Okay. Then they obviously didn't have someone who was well practiced, or someone that was quite emotionally charged, who was responding to these messages and kind of being quite aggressive and reactive and almost talking down to these people who were challenging them. Okay, trying to fight fire with fire, and they would be getting messages, okay, like this. So they fired this girl. Everybody found out about it, and then the woman who was managing it just didn't go well. She started deleting their messages, and that really didn't go well. People were following this entire saga over a couple of days. She then, I think she posted an apology, but not an apology, on the page at 2:30 in the morning. So that it wouldn't get automatic, people wouldn't respond to it straight away. And then so the girl who was fired, her name was Chelsea Welch, okay? So they posted apologizing, or not even apologizing, I apologize. It was to explain why they fired her, okay? There was no apology. They deleted comments like the ones on the screen here. They copied and pasted responses to people in the same thread, so you could clearly see that everybody was getting the same message. They argued with everybody. This person who was managing the community hid comments as spam, okay, on their Facebook page. Everyone thought that it was deleted. They had 10,000 comments recorded on their Facebook page, okay, and by the end of it, I think there were a couple of days between, they had 35,000 comments on their page. What do you guys think of that? What do you think? Is all press good press? Or is this a nightmare? Kareem says, what do you think of the pastor's message? Is it considered rude? I mean, that's a whole different discussion. But apparently someone, one of the girls, Applebee's fired the girl who posted it, quoting their rules and regulations, saying that they had exposed a customer's private details, basically by posting the slip, but they didn't check. Applebee's itself didn't check. There was another post of a really nice comment that someone had left on the back of a till slip at another stage, and they'd posted that on Facebook, So they were breaking their own rules there as well. Loads of you saying they really didn't handle it well. Fire the Facebook moderator, Betty Miles says. Byron says, nightmare. Tracy says it certainly should have been managed better. Kirsty says this is nightmare, but all press can be good press if handled correctly. Andrew, nightmare, apple booze. It's like the American Airlines saga, Monique says. Absolutely, that was horrific. Alistair says he thinks it's a nightmare as well. Exactly, guys. Okay, so regardless of the comment that was given, and I think that's quite inflammatory as it is anyway, the comment left by the pastor, it's just really badly managed, okay? That was horrifically managed. It could have been far better managed by apologizing for firing her or putting out a press release, something like that, okay? It's really not transparent. It's just badly managed. It may well come down to having bad policies within the company itself. But I'm sure, Peter, that's very, very true. Peter says, I'm sure they lost money on this one. I'm sure they lost a lot of money. I mean, they got a lot of press for it, but Oluwafemi says they should have managed the communication online better. Excellent. Okay, guys, so you all get the point here. Okay, what I can do is I can share a link to an article that covers all of this for you. But it is, if you just search Applebee's pastor or Applebee's fires waitress, you'll find it. And that's what happens, and it's there forever, Okay, so the next one, Richard, that's very sweet. The next one, okay, we're going to have a look at this very, very, very good example. It is a little bit old at this stage, but it was one that I followed as it unfolded, okay? And I'm sure that there are a lot of people in South Africa that did the same. So Spur is a very, very well-known family restaurant in South Africa, okay? It's like a grill house, kind of burgers and steaks and kiddies play areas, and think about it really like jacked up McDonald's, okay? And so it didn't break very, very long ago, so it would be silly not to have a look at it. Oh, Andrew, I didn't mean Andrew saying pasta. I thought you meant pasta at first by the comment by the pastor. Pastor. Pastor is what I meant. Sorry, my accent can be a little bit, just doesn't agree with some words. So for Spur, guys, this was done right. What they did so what happened with Spur? Does anyone remember what happened there? Florence says, well, I got them engagements on their account. No, technically you're right. So basically, what you're all coming about, Byron says there was technically, I don't know if it was a racist altercation. There was a disagreement that was caught on tape, okay? Someone pulled their phone out and started filming an altercation that happened between a black woman and a white man. And now South Africa is quite racially charged as it is, I think. But what happened was the video caught him being incredibly aggressive towards this woman who was sitting surrounded by a lot of, maybe 10 toddlers, and was stating that one of the children with her had hit his child in the play area. but he started threatening her. She started fighting back. And there were a whole bunch of stories that came out. It went up, it went viral. I don't think it was more than an hour or two after it was posted, right? So Spur, you can see in the background of the video, I'm not going to show it to you now because it can upset people. If you want to have a look at it, you can go and look at the Spur thing. I actually got a bit upset by it. I just felt like it was inappropriate, but that's a whole different story. But you can go and have a look at it. And basically, so this video was released and everyone started spiking at Spur, at the company, at the restaurants, and basically said, why did you not try to do anything to fix this? Okay, why didn't you interject? There were a couple of staff members standing behind them not doing anything while this man was being incredibly aggressive towards this woman with her children. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the Facebook page here for you, and hopefully it is still there. It should still be there, but just to give you a visual representation of what it looked like, okay, what happened on the page when it hit. So here's their Facebook page, all right? So let's have a scroll down. Oh, that's interesting. Guys, so you can see it's a little while ago. A long while ago. Okay, so let's have a look here. I think that the press release is still here. The page blew up. Okay, so just to kind of explain that to you. But they started copying and pasting their responses. They were helpful. They released a statement as well, which they released a press release, okay? But they did release it at about 3 in the morning as well. I'm not sure if that was the intention, but there's a whole bunch of different. I've got a screenshot anyway of the content. But yeah, it was a good long while ago, okay? But basically, Richard says maybe it's been taken off. Terry says it was a long while ago. It really was a long while ago. So basically what happened is they released an official press release, okay, which stated it discussed, what they accepted and what they didn't accept, and they'd spoken to the woman and they apologized for not stepping in. And they basically just communicated their intentions across social media and across, the platforms that they used. Okay, so they had an official press release about the issue to begin with. They then posted it on Facebook. Now, these are things that they did right because they didn't have to. It wasn't, not necessarily that they didn't have to, but it wasn't because of them and their wrongdoing that, arguably, that this whole incident happened. Okay, this was an incident that just happened to be in their restaurant, and this is how they approached it. Okay, so they posted it on Facebook where a lot of the interactions were happening and people were getting really upset and posting false stories. I'll show you a screenshot of that shortly. Okay, they released proof. They released the CCTV footage to clarify the situation of what exactly happened, which gave the entire story, not just a clip that someone had caught of the entire interaction, which proved what the entire story was. And it engaged with the false news reports, okay? It counted them because there were news reports saying, that they had posted and they'd... Thank you very much, Andreas. Andreas has given us an article on that, so I'm going to bring that up shortly. Basically, there were false reports that came out that people responded to, or people... Here we go. That's the statement. Thanks, 702. There's a whole discussion about it. You can see how in-depth people went on this. Okay, there you go. Won't condone racism, sexism, homophobia, religious intolerance, cyberbullying, all of that. So they gave a really lengthy response to something that wasn't necessarily and they took a stand on the situation. Okay, it wasn't just a watery, response. They countered those false stories and set the news straight, and they kept their opinions, they withheld their opinions, and they kept out of a discussion across social media. They didn't get stuck into the middle and try to justify themselves and get angry about it. They stayed very, very professional in the whole situation. Okay? So here's the screenshot that I have of what happened. Okay? So of kind of just to show you what it looked like. This was the story there was a picture circulating that was horrendous. Okay, so that this was allegedly the girl who had been slapped, the little girl, and this is what they did wrong. Because actually, can anyone tell me what they think they did wrong here? What do you think was done wrong right here? What you can see right here on the screen. Andrea says this cost Spur millions. It really, I think, I wouldn't be surprised if it did. It certainly marred their positioning in the customer's mind. Same responses. Lizelle, excellent. Copy and paste, Angie. Yes. Okay. When people bring up, and they're particularly with a situation that is emotionally charged, okay, this is where it's most important to treat people as individuals, okay? Copying and pasting is going to be seen as lackluster, or not lackluster. It's going to be seen as lazy and indifferent, okay? So very first thing that they did wrong was lack of staff intervention, okay? Their staff at the time should have been trained better to deal with these sorts of situations, okay? They should have had an emergency response set up, and they should have got in. Betty says that she can't read the text. That's fine. So you'll be able to read it on your slides. I'll see if I can enlarge it. Okay. Next, they published their press release at 3 a.m. So it avoided as much response as possible as it came out. So people, they didn't deal with an automatic mad response from it. Okay. Next, they copied and pasted the same message right on the money, you guys. Angie, you're 100%. Lizelle, thank you for adding to that. Okay. Next, bias statements. Okay, they made bias statements and decisions prior to investigation. So they basically sided with one of the sides. I think with the woman, if I'm not. If I don't stand corrected, but they didn't have enough information, like credible information, to do so. It turned out in the end that it was legitimate, but they didn't. It was an emotional siding, and they didn't explain themselves. All right. So there's that one, and then what do you guys think? I see a good few of you are coming through. Should an image of a child be used? So you can't read what the text says, but basically that image that was shared by one of the community, okay, a member of the community, someone at Spur obviously did a search of the image and found another article. It was being shared falsely, okay? It was an article that came from South Carolina where this image came from. So it had nothing to do with the audience itself, with the incident itself, but it is, it's a bit of a disturbing image anyway. Alistair says it was an altercation between two parties that ended up being racist. What else did they do wrong on their social channels? Andreas used to work there. Sorry for the anonymity. Alistair says Spur have suffered dearly with this incident and as a result are having to close some restaurants. So you can see the backlash of this kind of interaction. I'm sure that they stemmed a bit of it by responding to it. They did the best thing they could with a bad situation. I think that they dealt with it as best as they could. They did make there were a couple of hiccups, but they, compared to the Applebee's situation, it's a lot more, I just think that it was dealt with a lot better. They were a little better prepared, maybe better prepared. Okay, so what you guys reckon. Keep typing those comments in anyway. We're going to have a shift over. So there was another company. Now, this is just absolutely laughable. Marvin, you have joined the chat. You're right there. It's good to see you. Here's a company that piggybacked off of the story. It's a place called Django Cafe. And they posted this very shortly after the whole incident. And for those of you who can't read it, it says, tell the young, beautiful lady on the Spur video she gets a free burger this Friday at Django for standing up for herself. Hashtag we about the people. So really bad taste, really unnecessary. Apparently the gentleman or the chap that's had the interaction in Spur, Andreas is telling us, went on to a local radio station and did even worse damage for himself. Okay, so guys, here's just another example of how not to newsjack. It's just have tact at all times. This is a terrible way of executing this. It made a lot of people very, very angry. Okay. Guys, here is a little bit better, a little bit happier now. An example from Delta Hotels, okay? And I've spoken to you about off-the-handle listing, which is basically when you are searching for things relevant to your company or to an event around your company that haven't been tagged necessarily. So they have been they're not hashtags, they haven't been given a handle. It's just the term that's searched, okay? Before we get into it, Kirsty says, I think that this makes it clear that you need a clearly defined strategy in how to handle any negative engagement. It is, guys, it is absolutely imperative to have a crisis management system in place, okay? And you're not going to be able to cover everything, but if you can cover a great chunk of the things that could go wrong, you're already ahead of the game, okay? So with this particular situation, now the writing there is a little bit blurry. It was a picture off of Twitter, but there was a guy named Mike McCready who went to a conference, okay, and he stayed in a room at Delta Hotels, and he tweeted at one point and said that it was unfortunate that he was staying in Delta Hotels. He didn't actually mention the name of the hotel, but he said he was staying in a hotel nearby. This guy is a blogger, and he had been invited to this conference called PSC Web, and that was the hashtag that was being used for the conference, okay? And I think he may have used the hashtag for the event. It wasn't for the hotel, but the hotel picked it up. Okay, they saw what he said. He'd kind of grumbled a bit about not getting a room with a view, and so they were doing off-handle listening. They were listening to events around them. It was maybe a couple of kilometers away from them, but they paid attention and they knew that they had people staying with them for that. So they did watch out. So he came back from the conference after tweeting that kind of in passing to the chocolates and this note in his room when he got back. So what happened is they basically sent him some treats, and they said, we really, really apologize for not having a suite available on a higher floor for you. We've got hectic occupancy levels, like there's no availability in the hotel, but please accept this. It's a sweet treat. It's on us, and we'll take care of your next trip when you're in Vancouver again. Okay, so this is something that they didn't have to do. They really didn't, but it absolutely, it gave them a huge boost, okay? Because what happened is that because he was a well-known blogger and he was at this web event, okay? He was invited there to cover it. He wrote a blog post the same day that he received this, and they got massively positive responses from it. Okay, so this is how you do it. You put in a little bit more extra effort. You know, your customers feel like they're being heard and they're being taken care of. It's not quite at the creepy level that it would be if it was an individual doing it. Okay, so, you know, and then your other potential customers get to see that, and they get to see how well you handle that situation. Okay, off-handle listening is incredibly important, guys. Really, really important. And, you know, we do have tools that we can use, and I'm going to show you how to use a couple of them next week. But for now, I'm gonna walk you through this. There's loads of you coming through and saying clever play on words as well. Sweet versus sweet, Kirsty says. Cecilia says amazing customer service. Byron says Vancouver Canadians are the best. Negative can be turned into super, super positive. And it wasn't necessarily hugely negative. He didn't comment directly on their page. He didn't bring it to their attention. They just saw what he had written and decided to make a knee-jerk, take an action on it. So, guys, just a couple of tips for you on this customer service, on your online reputation management on social. You need to choose a primary channel for customer service, okay? A lot of people use Twitter. It is an open broadcast platform. It's open to the public. Anyone can read tweets unless you close yourself off to them, okay? Unless you set your account as private. It means that anyone can contact you and tag you, and basically what I would suggest using Twitter, have a presence on the vital social channels that you need for your company, but have a presence on Twitter, especially if you're dealing with customer facing, if that's your company, if you're working in products or services, okay? Next, decide on your schedule of availability. Set the hours and days that you're going to have people monitoring your social channels, okay? And post that on your profile. Make it known. Now, it's important to have someone checking in every now and again anyway. And I'm sure if it's your company, then you'd be a little bit obsessed about it. So you would be checking anyway. But do have a schedule posted so that people know what to expect. Okay? Next, have each tweet or each post signed by the person who sent it. Okay, this is done very, very well by Xbox. The Xbox support team do it. Sainsbury's, Buffer do it. Recent interaction I had was with Virgin. They're incredibly good. I mean, they're. I was responded to by an agent in 5 minutes of posting a tweet. Okay. Next, remember that your customers might contact you at any number of your channels, on any number of your channels, and any kind of way. They not necessarily would be the channel that you choose and you decide is going to be your channel for management. So keep an eye on your other channels for questions and conversations about your brand as well. Okay? Establish a tone for your social media conversations. Generally speaking, guys, you're going to want to empathize with your customers first. Okay? Stephen Covey, I don't know if you guys know who Stephen Covey is, but he's got a phrase basically: seek first to understand. Try to understand where they're coming from before you get defensive. Okay, Lindy says that Shaw does this on Twitter as well. Yep. It's important, guys. It gives you that personal touch makes such a difference because you don't feel like you're talking into a black hole of, as the customer, you're talking into a black hole of a company. Okay? Righty. So who commented? Someone asked a question there. Sorry about that. Martin asked, what is typically a good schedule? So what times should you set aside? So it definitely depends on your company. It depends on your industry. It depends on, your opening hours if you've got a shop. But generally, it's working hours, okay? So 9 to, and I know for one of the places that I worked for before, it was 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 because that's when we were in the office and we were able to respond. But more and more your reputation managers or your social media managers, they'll be the ones that they'll have to have varying hours, and it kind of comes with the job description. Okay, anyone have any questions? If you do, if you don't, I'll answer them at the end of the lesson. It's all good. Okay, so I did show you guys sociograph.io, but I did want to put this into the slides so that you could go and have a look yourselves if you didn't remember the website. So that is the website. Alrighty. And here we're going to have a quick look at Hootsuite. You guys ready? Terry says challenging for the travel industry. Are you talking about the schedules? because I can imagine so. Let me just bring this up for us now. Okay, so Hootsuite uses social buttons, which is pretty cool. Let us sign in with Facebook. Not letting us. There we go. Okay. So you can literally sign in like that, or you can set up a different account. Now, this is my social channel. This is my baby, the man in my life, Puffin. I just used it to kind of give an example. Okay, so that would be an Instagram page. This is your Facebook page. Here's LinkedIn. You can add up to 5, I believe, for free on Hootsuite. So this is your Hootsuite dashboard. Okay. Everybody there. So here's your dashboard. This is where you start off from, okay? You can add any amount of streams. So you can have a look. You can go to Twitter, search, okay, well, you can't do that. You need a Twitter account to begin with. Keywords and lists, okay? So those are really, really really cool, actually. You can search certain keywords that you associate with your company, or have a stream where you set that up so that you see when people mention those words. That's kind of your off-handle listening, okay? And lists as well. And then you've got Facebook. There's your company page. You can track any one of these, okay? Google Plus, LinkedIn, if you need to track that. WordPress as well, if you want to add your WordPress, say you've got access to your website and it's through WordPress CMS, you can add that. Instagram, YouTube, and then other apps, okay? So you can add any amount of these guys. So you can see what's the great thing about Hootsuite. So for those of you who don't know what Hootsuite is, it is a publishing, it's where you can put a whole bunch of your social channels into one place, and you can monitor them all from one place. And you can also plan your content and schedule it from one place, okay, including images. I think they've recently, they only recently added Instagram, which is wonderful. It allows you to track that. You can schedule, so you can add locations. There are privacy options you can fiddle with, so you can schedule whatever you're going to say, and then you can add media, you can add photos, you can add videos. I mean, it's so much better than when it first came out. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea, you schedule it there. You can choose whatever date you want to schedule it to. You can measure your targeting options, okay? You can add social networks. So that's kind of, I mean, it's great. There's so much other stuff. You've got your analytics here as well. You can calculate your aggregates. Kirsty says, can you see comments made on apps you do not subscribe to? I don't imagine that you would be able to. The listening, now let's have a look there. Ad stream, okay, so apps. Yeah, you'd have to install the apps first. So yeah, you'd have to have access to them in order to listen to them. It has to be your channel. You can't listen to something if they can't confirm that it is your channel. You haven't got to log into it. You can't have access to that, you know. And you can add certain social networks. Alrighty. So let's have a look here. I was showing you analytics. You can kind of have a look. I don't have any here really, but you can create reports of, the content that you're working with, your hourly click summary. So what Hootsuite does is it reduces the length of your links as well. Okay, it gives you it shortens your links so that, and they are hourly links, ow.ly, and then it's a / and a number or a word if you're using that for a campaign. Okay, so you can use that. It shortens them and makes them, they're really handy that way. Okay, your app directory, you can have a look at here. Okay, so any of these, I mean, you can add these and they add to it for you. I personally haven't used them because it was more than enough for me. I'd say that's quite a cool one, Keyword Monitor, because there are huge amounts of people on there. Okay, your campaigns as well. So I just want to show you this very, very quickly. So you can create competitions. Do you remember I was saying to you about engagement and creating competitions? So here's a really cool way of being able to do that. Okay, if you are able to access a lot more if you have got a paid account, but you don't necessarily need one if you're a smaller business. Okay, so you have your Twitter gallery, there's an Instagram gallery, you can add a whole bunch of images, sign up to something. Okay, so you can use these here and run your competitions from here, which is pretty cool. And your ads as well. So you have to have an account, but so I haven't signed up. There we go. Let's have a look. So guys, it's everything in the one place, really. If you want to manage stuff from here, I know there are people that find it difficult adjusting to using a different platform to populate their social media channels, but it's really, really handy if you're managing a huge amount of accounts, even more than one, really. It's fine if you're managing 1 or 2 accounts on a social channel like Facebook or Twitter, but it's time consuming to click through and go and scroll through each of them and all of that. And I'd really suggest just using this. So that's not loading, but you guys get the gist. You can go and explore it yourselves. Apologies about the owl. Apparently it was a little bit frightening. So cool, guys. Joylene says, can you use MailChimp with Hootsuite? You can't. Richard says he's been using Buffer. Buffer is also very, very good. So I can show you Buffer at a later stage as well. So guys, here it's really, really important to put a calendar together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting a social media calendar template into your toolbox so that you can all go and use it like as a bit of a basis to start from. Okay, it's one that I used when I was managing a few different accounts. Like a few different social accounts, and they're really, really good for a lot of different reasons. One, you are you can plan your content before you populate Hootsuite or you schedule it all. Okay, you know exactly where you're sitting with what you're posting and when it needs to be posted. You can also send it between yourself and your clients and do a bit of a sign-off between you. I just used Excel. You can use Google. You can use, what I'll do for you, I cannot upload an Excel spreadsheet, but I can send you a PDF of it. And if you email me directly, then I'll be able to send you a zip file of it. Okay? It's not pretty, but it does the job. Okay? So there's just that. And then, guys, I'm just going to summarize there because we're getting close to the time. So few tips for you right at the end here. Make a plan. I think we ran through this in the last lesson, but that's okay. Listen to your audience. They will tell you what they want and what they need and how to respond to them and take their lead. Do. Okay? Implement your strategy. Make sure you stick to it as well. Not rigidly. Give yourself some wiggle room because things do change constantly online. But know your skeleton. Know what you're working with and what the basic goals are. Okay? And basic plans. Analyze the outcome. When something goes wrong, like it happened for Spur or for Applebee's, learn from it. Okay? Learn from it and never ever do the same thing again if it goes wrong. That's what social media is about. It's about learning as you go. We are going to mess up. We're going to do silly stuff. Learn how to manage it properly and it won't be as big a deal as if you manage it badly. Okay? Revise what you need to revise on that content, okay, on those issues that happen. Change it and change up your plan and strategize, okay, and then do it again.